Hey, good morning. Today we're going to make a mold, but it's not going to be one of those deals where we just go glug, 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 and the mold fills up and everything's perfect and beautiful, because it just never works that way. Because you know that every time you make an object, it brings with itself its own set of problems, its own set of needs and wants, its own miseries and horrors. So you know that to make this mold, we're going to have to solve a bunch of problems. So let's get going. I've already begun to solve problems on this piece. And the first thing I did was to put rubber underneath the wings. Creating a mold isn't just about pouring rubber into a case. It's about getting a perfect impression of the model. And in order to do that, sometimes you just have to resort to all kinds of trickery and preparations and this and that. To wit, I took and I put rubber under each one of these wings. Now, why did I do that? And it's cured up. This rubber is cured. I did it like a day ago, so it's fully cured. Now, why did I do that? Here's why. If you look at a front view of this horse, you got the beautiful head, you got the body, and then you got these wings hanging off the sides. And you got the legs, got the wings, and the wings are kind of hanging off the sides like that. Beautiful legs, got your eyeballs, got the unicorn corn right there. Fantastic. Wait a minute, let's give him some ears so you can so you see what I'm doing here. Oh yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. Little chin. Okay, here's the thing. When I pour this rubber, the rubber is going to rise up. And it's going to rise up, and it's going to rise up, and it's going to rise up. And look what's going to happen to me. I'm screwed. I'm going to catch a wicked bubble right under there. And I'm going to catch a wicked bubble under here. And I could tilt it, I could rock it back and forth. I could do all this trickery. I could do all this stuff. I am worried about this bubble right there that I pre-filled those areas that could catch. Now, there's not going to be any problem with the bonding. The new rubber is going to bond to the old rubber. So this is the kind of stuff you can do. You can go over your model and look for problem areas. Look for where you whoa. And a lot of times it's open mouths, it's deep holes, it's weird textures, it's areas, it's armpits, it's stuff that when the rubber rises up, it could catch air above it. And if there's a section like that, you got to deal with it ahead of time, or you are going to have a wicked bubble. I could have had really wicked bubbles under here. And what that would mean would be there'd be this big chunk. It would look like a big, chunk of resin hanging out from each wing. It'd be highly unattractive, and it would be a huge pain in the ass to clean up. We don't want that. We want this to cast perfecto. The next problem to solve is putting the case on. And to make it easier, make my life simpler, I have mounted this board to the bench top. And the reason for that is that I'm going to be screwing these sides on. And because I'm going to be screwing to assemble this thing, I don't want to put a lot of pressure on the piece. So let's see, what is this? Let's look and see what we got. We got side C, which is right here. This is why I label all these parts, by the way. These my construction is not so good that every hole is perfectly centered and every hole is perfectly, no. Everything is funky. So I always label my parts. So the whole point of this board is that when I screw these sides on, I have something to push against. I'm pushing pretty hard, and it went together perfectly. Just absolutely no worries, no shaking, no disasters. I'm really, really conscious of the fact that I want to avoid any damage to the model, because at this point, I've got a lot of time and effort and work invested in this thing. I don't want it screwing up. So, just little things like this board is just a good little insurance policy that says I have much less of a chance of messing up. Little things like that are a good investment. You make these little improvements along the way. Okay, so now I need side A, which is this one, and I know that because it's labeled A. I'll put that on there. And you notice these holes are just these screws are just dropping right into their holes. No worries at all. No strain, no worries. Easy peasy. Nice. All right, our boy's about to go in. Our boy's about to go into its case. Are you ready? Are you ready in there? Better be ready, because you are going to get coated momentarily here. Did I do that right? Yes, I did. Okay. Just checking that I did it right. Okay. And I don't know if you saw the first video, but if you did, you'll recall that I'm just going to do the tops with these clip clamps, like that. Nothing fancier than that. Just clip the box together. Super easy to take apart when it's time to take it apart. Not so easy to work these clip clamps, man. You gotta be, okay. Get those things on there. They hold tight, boy, they hold almighty. And just like that, we have got a mold ready to pour. All right, if you've watched my videos, then you've seen this drill many times. We're gonna meter out 29 grams of the rubber hardener, the catalyst. Woo! Okay, that was a quick pour to 29. Let's see if I over poured it. No, I did not over pour it. Let's see how close I came. Let's see how close I came. Very shy. It's a couple of more grams and we are there. Okay, 29 grams of the hardener. And let's dump some rubber in there. Let's set this to 100. So the scale is now set, well, the scale is actually set to like 120. Ooh, here we go. It's gonna go quick. It's gonna go quick. I guarantee it's gonna go quick. There it is, there's 100. There's 200, 300. All right, let's see how over we went. I wanted to go to 329. Oh man, I'm at 325. Just another blip. And we're gonna call that pretty good. All right, let's mix this up. Let's mix this rubber up. Now we gotta go. It's warm in the shop, not super hot, but it's warm. So we wanna mix this good and really get it stirred up quick. I always put the hardener or the catalyst, the blue stuff, into the bucket first. That way it's easier to scrape the sides and mix the material. You get a cleaner, faster mix than if you add the hardener on top and then you have all this uncured rubber sticking to the sides of the container. It makes a big mess. So this is faster. All right, let's fire up this machinery. See if we can't de-air this stuff. That down in there, away we go. Love it. Look at that thing pull a vacuum. Hope it doesn't overflow, huh? Perfect. Look at that thing pull that air out of there. Okay, let's pour it. Let's get going. Let's get going. I want to pour straight to the bottom. I hope you can see what's going on down in there. I'm being very careful to pour from the right place. I want this material to rise up. And because the hooves are slanted a certain way, I'm pouring from the low side, always looking to rise and push the air out. That's always the goal. All right, we got most of it. Scrape it off on the side. Let it run down the side. What I did want to emphasize is that I can start putting in the chunkies even now. I can start dropping in chunks of rubber. And that's just strictly to save money, basically, to recycle old molds and to save money. I don't want to trap any air bubbles around the pieces that I'm dropping in at all. I want to drop in neat and sweet, and they're doing just that. I'm going to pour it in layers, and one of the advantages to pouring in layers is whatever bubbles may still be in there are going to rise up, and they have a chance to pop before you put the next layer on top. So it's like by building it slowly, you can get a lot more air out in case you didn't get the rubber thoroughly de-aired. It helps a lot, especially if you don't have a vacuum pump or any other fancy system to take the air out. Getting the air out is a problem. Pouring in layers can really help you. It's 24 hours, it's the next day, and I did the pours yesterday. And you can see them down in there. Yes, hope you can see them. See the pores? Yep, they're all nice and cured up. But I noticed something this morning, and this is kind of the story of, this is the story of my life. You saw me put this mold case together. You saw me mount the horse. You saw how everything fit so perfectly, and it was like just sweet, just in there, perfect. I checked it, I measured it. When I installed the horse, waxed it into place, I put it exactly where it belongs. And look what happened. Look what I've discovered. When I put in these pieces, which I was planning to do today, get these pieces into place, slide them into place like that. This one's okay, the big one's okay, but it has too much space. I was like, wait a minute, that's a big space. Now watch this. When this one goes in, look what happens. Look at that. This ear is touching this piece of wood. There was a good, solid 1/4 of an inch of space between that ear and that piece of wood. And I have absolutely no idea how that happened. This is the kind of stuff that makes me absolutely go mental. It's so frustrating when stuff like this happens. You know who I really admire? I admire the people that launched the Opportunity rover to Mars. These people drove a 6-wheel drive, nuclear-powered Jeep around on the surface of Mars, and loaded with scientific equipment. The thing was supposed to run around for like 18 months. They drove it for 14 years on Mars. They just now launched the Perseverance rover to Mars, and the launch was beautiful. I hope some of you saw that launch. It was an incredible launch. They're going to fly a helicopter around on Mars. These people are flying a freaking helicopter around on another planet. And I can tell you, they did not call me and say, hey, Robert, we'd like you to join our team and make the rubber molds for our rover. Because they would look at this and they would go, you can't get a plastic horse to fit into a wooden box. I mean, you literally, it's just so, you get so dejected, you know? You have no idea, I have no idea how that happened. So, listen, don't go through your life looking for trouble. Don't go looking for problems. Don't make up problems and troubles for yourself, because you have to go and manifest. You have to look for happy things. You have to look for positive outcomes. You have to work to make things happen in your life and make things good. The universe is just going to dump crap in your lap. You don't have to go looking for crap in your lap. You will get it. This is crap in my lap. Somewhere in the universe, somebody is laughing right now at me, going, let's just wreck his day. He was going to have a nice, easy pour, hour in the studio, no problem. Oh, okay. All right. When this happens to me, and it happens to me all the time, I have developed a really sophisticated and I think, very spiritually based response to these kinds of situations. I just look at it and go, uh-oh, spaghetti-o. Let's get on and let's fix it. The obvious solution is we're going to modify the block to make sure there's enough room for that air sticking out. And we'll get that done, and we'll get this mold poured. All right, beautiful. Okay, we're over at the old drill press, and let's grind away on this thing. Get it nice and smooth. And now, see if I can fit this boy. This divot will give us just enough clearance and just enough of a pad that it should be just fine. I love clamps. Clamps are like extra fingers. These pieces are assembling exactly as I wanted them to. It's going to be very interesting to take this mold apart and see if I can determine where I went horribly wrong. Won't know till we get there, but this is ready for its final pour. So let's set up and let's do it. All those bubbles you see in there are just at the very, very top layer. And as you pour them, a lot of them break up and they rise to the surface and they don't cause any problems. Now the trick to poking in these little chunkies down on the bottom is I'm using one of my carving tools, which has a pretty sharp point. I impale the rubber on the tool just hard enough to carry it into the mold, but you want it to let go once you push it down into the rubber, or it just doesn't work. See, these are the little tips and tricks you gotta know. Okay, let's not forget, we need to get these little boys and girls into the cup. Okay, so let's put a nice dollop of sticky wax on there. Put some out on the edges. Just let it bond on there, good. Oh yeah, I'm gonna reach down there with the tool rather than push down with my fingers. All right, good. They're living down in that little cup. That'll be easy to pour. No problem, we'll get that poured right up. Before we keep filling the pony mold, let's get this one poured. Get these little shoes poured. They're quick and easy. Now what we want to do is we want to fill them up to the point where the rubber is going to start to spill into those toes, because we really want the rubber to flow into those toes. We're going to make sure it does. Taking my time because I want to make sure those toes are going to fill. I think they're filling up just fine. Don't want to catch a bubble in the heel though either. So I am pouring slow. I gotta go because it's warm in the shop and this rubber is going to go off. Can't have that. Okay, just about got it now. Just about got it to rise up. Yep, perfect, okay. All right, shoes done. Move on, let's go. This rubber is gonna get thick quick. We wanna get it down in there. It's flowing nice, but we wanna get it down in there. And what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna repeat this process over and over again. We're just gonna keep mixing up 330 gram batches, fill slowly, and build it up. And I have a whole load of beautiful chunkies that I'm gonna be throwing in there as well to help save on new rubber. And we'll just get going until we get the whole thing filled up. It's always a guess. At this point, basically, I just guessed on how much rubber to mix up. Looks like I'm gonna come up substantially short, but we won't know just yet because I am gonna do a lot of my nonsense with the chunkies. And if we have to, we'll top it. Sometimes the last pour of the day is just a little topper pour. We'll see if we need it. See how close we come. So basically the only thing left is the horn in this mold with these chunks of rubber. And see how I'm pushing them down? That's the technique you want to use. You want to push them in clean and so they push the rubber out of the way and completely surround it. You definitely don't want to catch air. That's why I don't just drop them in, sprinkle them in, because I want to know that I'm really pushing them down and that they're not catching air underneath them. I use a tool because I don't care if it gets a little bit of rubber on it, cleans right off. Oh yeah. I don't think we're gonna need another layer. I think I'm gonna be able to push enough rubber down in there to bring it up high enough that I feel safe, that there's enough rubber. You don't want the tip just right at the surface. You definitely want a good 1/8 of an inch at least, maybe 1/4. But I still have lots of room to embed old rubber chunks, so I might as well keep doing it. As long as it's working, keep it up. And what you see is we're almost done. All right, it's 24 hours later again. It's the next day. It's the next day. We're good, we're good, we're good. I'm excited. We have got a mold ready to take apart. Now I'm nervous. Got to take this thing apart, but first, I don't like, as you know, as you've seen me do before, I don't like taking molds apart. I don't like cutting molds on paper. By the way, this is why I'm a big fan of paper on the desktops. Look at this mess. Imagine cleaning this every time. Forget about it. I have time for that. Get this out of here. Quick and easy. Not that this old benchtop hasn't been through 1,000 wars, which it has. All right, let's get rid of this. Serious business now, boy. We got this little dinky mold to cut. Can kind of think about that for a minute. Let's just pull it out of its case. All right, nothing new, nothing unusual about that. That's all looking good. We're all set, ready to go. Got to take this mold apart. I'm nervous now. What if I screw it up? Oh, please. Hope it comes out good. Where's my machinery at? Hope this thing comes out good. Now I don't have to be so particularly gentle with it. I'm flinging around a little more because the model is safely entombed in rubber. Oh man. Hope this thing came out. All right. Here's something weird. Look at the bumpies on the top, the cubes, the little cubes I pushed in there sometimes float to the top of the mold. I don't understand why they do that, because theoretically they're the same density. You can kind of see them. They never hurt anything. Doesn't really matter. It's just weird to me. I had them pushed down thoroughly underneath the surface, but they float up like coming back from the dead. All right. Oh man, it's always a tug. The first few pieces are always a tug. Always a tug, especially on a mold this size. Now I might, no I don't, good. I was about to say I might have to resort to wedges. On really big molds, like large molds, you always have to resort to wedges because of the forces involved are so high. There's no way to take stuff apart. But a mold this size should pretty much just come apart. Ooh. Should pretty much just come apart. That's always fun. Oh, well, wow, the glue failure on there. Okay, we'll have to repair that if we're going to reuse this box. Okay. Interesting. Okay. No worries. I got a little bit of minimal leakage, but not bad. See about these blocks. Can we get them off of there? Yep. Look at that. Nice. Nice. Now let's take a look at our little wounded block over here where we had to put that. Yeah. And you can see that divot that I had to make in there to clear that ear. That ear is about 1/4 of an inch down inside of there. Wow, and now for the fun part. The fun part, of course, and the only part that is a risk to the model is the base. And it's on there because I may have to run a tool down in there to get between that sprue. Nope. Might not have to do anything. Let's see. Come on, baby. Oh, look at that. How'd it work? It looks like it did exactly what I wanted it to do. See, once in a while, earlier in this video, you thought I was an idiot, and you were right. But look at that. My prediction was is if I used sculptor's foam and epoxied it to the foot, the sprue would break before the foot broke. And that's exactly what happened. This just came apart, neat as you please. Now there's going to be some cleanup on that foot, but the foot theoretically is undamaged. Very, very pleased with how that worked out. So there's our sprue, there's our vents, and they broke off just exactly as they're supposed to do. That's why you use wax. It's why I don't like to use hot melt in connections like this. It's so much harder to break than wax. Wax is actually a really weak adhesive, and it is easy to shape, it works, and when you need it to come apart, it comes apart. I'm ready to cut open a mold. This is the exciting part, but you know what? Let's warm up. Just cut the little mold open just to warm up. I always trim it, just a habit. Don't have to do it, but I do it. All right, now I gotta find this. And the way to find it is to locate the vents. There's a vent here, and that means the vent's on the other side. So we know where we're gonna start cutting. We know we have to cut and free those vents. So let's do it. We know we have to free the vents. And then the next handy thing to do is just to pop the funnel out. I just get my thumbs under it, pop it out. Now it makes it easy to see where I'm going. I just need to follow along those sprues and cut down into the vent. And remember that vent touches the toe. Cut one vent out, and I'm making my usual jaggedy cuts. As always. Okay, now I'm cutting down the shoe. Now I want to cut as little as possible. Get that other vent out of there. And now just there, I cut down. Remember there's a branch, a little tree branch in there. And that should fall out. Yep, that came out. Boy, I can almost get those shoes out of there just like that. You know what I'm gonna do? I'd rather cut the heels. I'd rather cut the underside than the top side. Less cleanup, easier cleanup. So let's do that and see if we can't free these. But we have one challenge, and that is that those toes are full of rubber. So it may lock in there. So let's cut down this side. See if we can do something like that. See if we can free those. There it goes. Wow, that really did lock under there. Okay, it did, but it came out. All right. Amazing how a simple little shape like this can be a challenge. There we go. All right, so let's look at it. Get the little wax chips out there from where I welded the sprues on. Well, oh yeah. All right, looks okay. Looks like I got the toes. Okay, I think we have a good mold. See how they cast them. Beautiful. All right, that was just a little warm up. Let's do the main event, which is I'm going to start by trimming all this flashing, and it's just as fast to do it with a pair of scissors as it is to do it with a knife. In fact, arguably faster. So let's go. Let's get this stuff cleaned off. This is cosmetics more than it's anything else. I mean, there's no impairment. There's nothing that really hinders you by having this flash. I just don't think it looks as clean. So I'm in the habit of cutting it off. I knew that when we started that this would be a big chunky, a big old chunk of rubber, and it is. It's a hefty chunk of rubber. Of course, there's a hefty model inside of it too, and that's accounting for a part of the weight. But it's probably a good couple pounds of rubber. The model's really smooth, properly cared for. This mold could probably make a decent number of copies. All right. We're ready for the main event. Oh, please, please come out right. Please don't have flaws. A lot of work went into this, and now it's time to see if it's going to pay off. So let's get to cutting. I've got to tell you the truth, and that is that I'm always nervous when I cut, especially when I cut a bigger mold like this. Very, very nerve-wracking. If you feel uncertain and nervous when you cut molds, you are not alone, believe me. So let's just start. And it's hard to begin a big mold. The bigger the mold, the more it's going to fight you in the beginning. This is where people resort to all kinds of like tools and weird things to get the mold open, but I don't generally like to do that. What I might do is resort to little things to prop the mold open, but generally speaking, I like to just get in here and feel my way down. Cutting very jagged, as I always do, but following down the line of the vent, heading towards that sprue, which I'm about to get to. But there's nothing easy about cutting a big mold. All right, now I'm actually cutting against the body there, cutting against that foot. So I want to make not too ragged a cut on that foot, because I want the parting line to be as smooth as possible where it touches the body, but raggedy out on the edges, so it'll lock. So we'll get good lock. And I think you can see I'm pulling pretty hard on the mold. I'm not that gentle with the mold, with the rubber. I'm pulling quite hard on it, because I want to cut the bridge between the two legs. Let's head off towards this foot. Okay, so I want to come like this. So if you struggle, as you can see, everybody struggles when they cut a mold. This is why people who don't like cut molds don't like to use them, because they feel like it would be too hard to make clean cuts. Okay, cut the bridge between those two legs. That's good. That was hard, but that was good. Now I got to cross over to that other foot, and I think how I'm going to do it is I'm going to cross to that foot from this sprue, like this. Just cross over. So I can start to open up that side of the mold. And then I'll decide how I want to exit the mold. I don't generally use tools like surgical spreaders or anything like that. I just don't generally feel like they're necessary. But once in a while, on a mold like this, it can be useful to jam a block in there to hold the mold apart, so you can more easily, kind of gives you extra hands, and you can more easily see where you need to be, where you need to go down to. And by doing that, we can start to get the mold itself open. Look at those raggedy cuts I just made, and then a clean cut down the back of that leg, out towards that butt. Okay, good. Now, I want to liberate this foot on this side. And this leg got cracked in all this straining and huffing and puffing. Cracked that leg. I'd like to come off of there better. Whew, Lordy. Okay, yeah, this leg got damaged. But you can see it's gonna come out now. There he comes. There he came. Wow. Wow. Whoa, that was a war. That was a battle. Did break the leg, as I was afraid that I would. It's repairable, of course, but it just puts a lot of strain on models, as you can see, to cut a mold like this. But I am hopeful and confident that when we go to close this mold, it's just going to close up beautifully. And all those parting lines, I hope, will go away. And that's the idea. Even on a big mold like this, get all those parting lines to go away. Wow, that was fun. I'm soaking wet. It's warm in the studio, but whoa, all right. And I think we're gonna declare victory and say that we got a good mold. And next week, we're going to build the case that's going to attach the rubber bands to it. We wanna make sure that it absolutely closes up. And then we're gonna pour resins. And that will be the acid test of how well this mold is gonna do. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, watch this next video. And be sure to keep your comments and your questions and your projects coming. Without you, there is no channel, and the content of this channel is completely dictated by the things you all are working on. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next week.